What's going on, friends? Welcome back to another New World video. Today we're going to be talking about factions in New World. How do they work? What are the benefits of joining a faction? What's the difference between the three different factions? And of course, how do you actually join a faction in the first place? Now, there are many benefits to joining one of the three different factions in New World Aeternum. Whether you join the Covenant, which are the yellow symbol, the Marauders, which are green, or the Syndicate, which are purple, you will get access to the faction store. So we can see this individual, this NPC here. If I talk to them, I will then have the ability to not only take on certain quests, which are only available through joining a faction, but we also have access to rewards as well. And there is a huge menu of items here which we can get at various gear scores. So as we level up, we can be leveling up our faction reputation and then buying items from here. These include crafting materials. It includes actual weapons and armor we can use. And then when we go right down to the bottom, there's also very important end game items like the gypsum orb and the chromatic seal. So without joining a faction, you will have no access to the faction store. As we can see, if we switch back to our other character here, I talk to the same NPC, and he doesn't have anything to say to me. Another benefit of joining a faction is it will unlock the ability to create a company. Companies are basically like guilds or large groups of up to 100 players, so you can invite your friends and other people on the server into your company, and then you can use these to communicate with each other. So there is a private company chat where you can send messages to other people, and only people in the company chat will see those messages. So if we go to global, you can see it doesn't pop up. It's specifically in company, so it's kind of like a private chat, again, with other members. Companies can also declare war and take over territories. So we could send a high-ranking member of the company, a consul or the governor, and they could head over to Monarch's Bluff, which is currently unclaimed, go to the fort, go to the claim point, and provided we have enough gold in either your personal wallet or in the company's treasury, which is like a shared gold deposit, you could then buy that territory and own it as a company. And there's lots of benefits to that. It gives you reduced taxes. It also gets you a sort of weekly income, which goes into your treasury. So territory control is a very large part of New World Aeternum's endgame, and it is done through companies. We can see Weaver's Fen over here is currently the only claimed territory on this particular server, and it's owned by a company called the Shire. I wonder who that could be. Companies, like with the faction vendor, have restrictions in that only Marauders can join other Marauders in the company. Covenant have to be part of the same companies together, so you've got to invite other Covenant members. And again, Syndicate, it's all just a Syndicate company, so you can't have Syndicate members in a Marauder company. You guys get the idea. However, interestingly enough, you can be factionless and join a company. So if you want to be in a company very early on, like let's say that you got online 5 hours earlier than your friends, and they've only just started making their characters, you still can invite them to their company before they've chosen their faction. But obviously, to get the full benefits, to get the faction shop and the other stuff we're going to talk about, you will still need to join a faction, but you can be factionless to join a company. Joining a faction will also allow you to opt in to open world PvP, or player versus player. So if you want to attack other people outside of settlements, you will need to choose a faction. Now again, this is optional, so for those of you who are worried about getting attacked by other players while you're just going around and chopping trees, it is an opt-in thing, so this isn't going to happen the second you join a faction. But when you go into a settlement or a town or even a fast travel point, you can hold up on the D-pad and then press left trigger, or for those of you with mouse and keyboard, you can press U on the keyboard, and that will enable you to flag for PvP. And then once you leave a settlement, you'll get like a little timer, times down from 30 seconds. After the 30 seconds, boom, you'll flag for PvP, and you can attack other players, provided they are of an opposite faction to you. So if I was to go and join Covenant with this factionless character, then I wouldn't be able to attack factions here. But if I joined Marauders or I joined the Syndicate, then I would be able to attack this player, because again, opposing factions can attack each other if they go for the optional opt-in PvP by pressing U on the keyboard or holding up on the D-pad and then pressing left trigger, again, while you're in a settlement or at a fast travel shrine. So those are the main benefits of joining a faction. Now, hopefully at this point you are sold and you're like, all right, Baggins, how do I actually join a faction? Well, if you open up your map in Everfall, you should see these 3 different quest icons, a purple one, a green one, and there should be an orange one down here. That's for the Covenant, but I've already joined them on this character. If you don't see them, if you're like my character, my factionless character over here, and you open up Everfall and you, Baggins, I don't see those, it's because you're not high enough level yet. So if we just go ahead and hand in this quest, which I've got pre-prepared.
The ruins of the verdant. I must...
There we go, we hit level 17, and now hopefully we open up the map, and we're going to see them just up there. Yeah, there we go. So this is the Covenant faction initiation. This is for the Marauders, and then over here we have the Syndicate. Now, when you actually go and talk to these NPCs, you're not locked in at that point. You can actually do all 3 of the initiation quest lines, and then at the end, they'll ask if you want to join, and you can decline and then choose a different faction. So don't worry that you have to make an immediate decision here. You can actually do the initial quest lines, and then you'll get the option to join. So let's just go take a look at what that looks like, shall we? So I've arrived in Everfall, and I've actually been and spoken to each one of the faction representatives. You can see that I have, each one wants me to do a slightly different objective now. So defeat a wolf, go and get some ears from the Lost, or we have speak to Felden Olcott in the farm over here. Now, interestingly enough, each faction is giving us a slightly different reward, so we get the same amount of XP and gold, but we do get a different item from each one of them. So we get a ring from the Marauder first quest line, we have some gloves from the Syndicate, and we have an amulet from the Covenant. Now, if I'm not mistaken, I think each faction has you do like 2 or 3 different initiation quests before you actually make your decision. So I'm just going to go ahead and work my way through each one of these initiation quest lines, and then I'll show you guys what it looks like when it actually comes to making the decision. But to be clear, you don't have to do all of the faction missions or the initiation quest line. If you know that you just want to join the Marauders because you and your friends are going to make a Marauder company, or people on the server a Marauder, then you can just do that initiation quest line and ignore these ones. However, there is some merit to doing all of the initiation quest lines, and that is if you ever want to change faction at some point in the future, you can do that every 30 days. You will still need to do this initiation quest line. So it kind of gives you a benefit that if any point in the future on the server you decide you want to change faction, you're still going to have to do these quests. So if you want to do them now, you can. But again, it's kind of optional. Anyway, let's work our way through the initiation quest lines, and I'll show you what the joining decision looks like so you know when you're past the point of no return, effectively. Through the power of editing, I've now arrived at the point where I've finished the faction initiation quest line for the Covenant and the Marauders. We didn't do the Syndicate because I don't think it does too much to enhance the video. Actually, you guys don't even see it anyway. But you can see up in the top right, let me just move it onto a darker plane. We have a similar text for both the Covenant and the Marauders. So it's speak with a representative, or you can decline their offer. So if I go and talk to our Covenant representative here, I'll take the camera off so you can see all the options. We have thank you, I will think on it, I've decided I want to join the Covenant, or you can even ask why join a faction. So we ask why join a faction, they give you some explanation like we did at the start of this video. And then if we leave from that one, and we say thank you, I will think on it, and then what I could do is go and join the Marauders instead, or go talk to the Marauders, and maybe choose to join those. But at any point, basically, I could then go back to this NPC and say, actually, I have decided I do want to join you guys, and we can go here. And up until you click this button or select this button with your controller, you have not joined the Covenant. This is the moment where you should pay attention. For my character, actually, I think we're going to go and join the Marauders. I've joined the Covenant plenty of times, as you can see in my sort of stream background here. We're very much pro-Covenant, but we're going to be a traitor, and this time we're going to go join the Marauders. So let's just take a quick look at that. Again, it's pretty much the same thing, but just for the purpose of the video. All right, here we are. So same sort of thing. We go talk to the representative. In this case, it's Smigs, and we'll have the same options down here. So you can think on it, you can decide you want to join, or you can ask why join a faction. So I've decided I want to join the Marauders, then we'll get the same screen here, but instead it's going to be the option to join the Marauders. And this time I'm actually going to go through with it. It'll ask you once again, are you really sure you want to do this? Because it's it's a 1 month until you can do it again. If I hit yes, there we go. We are now part of the Marauders. For those of you who are curious, along the sort of quest line chain that we did there, we did get this life staff from the Covenant. We also got a helmet from the Covenant as well. I don't think either of them are really that good. They're quite low gear score compared to what I have at my level. We got this helmet from the Marauders. We got a great axe from the Marauders. Again, you guys saw the ring and the amulet. We also get these little care packages as well. I'm not even entirely sure what's in these. Honing stones and some food. Same thing here. Yeah, honing stones and some food. So it might be worth going through to do those just for the consumables. These aren't particularly high level, but it might be worth doing that. At this point, it might be relevant to answer the question, well, how do I decide, Baggins? How do I know which faction's right for me? Are there any differences between them? Now, let's talk about that. For the faction store, things are pretty much the same with the Covenant, the Syndicate, and the Marauders. If we take a look at this bow, this is one of the best bows that you could buy from the faction store for the Covenant. It's the Covenant Paladin bow, 675 gear score, 35 dexterity. It's got a gem socket, it's got keen, it's got vicious, it's got enchanted. Not too bad, very expensive. I honestly wouldn't buy it myself at 15,000 gold. But if we take a look at the Syndicate store, the exact same bow, again, 15,000 gold. And we compare it, it's 35 dexterity, keen, vicious, and enchanted. And on this character, I actually have the Marauder champion bow equipped as well. So we can see the Syndicate bow, the Marauder bow, and over here we can see the Covenant bow. It is basically the same bow. It's got a slightly different name, but the stats, the cost, everything is the same. And that's going to be the same with all the items that you see in the faction store, with one exception, and that is every faction has a unique piece of crafting gear only for that faction. It's just one piece of gear, and it's ludicrously expensive, 65,000 gold. So the Covenant have an item that's very good for cooking. So if you're into cooking and you want to make bonus meals, technically this is good to pick up, but it's very expensive. Not many people do. The Syndicate, I believe, have something for alchemy. I'll just find that one real quick. Here it is. It's the Syndicate specs, and it's +5 to Arcana item crafted quality. Again, this is kind of unnecessary. You can get by with other Arcana gear just fine. It's at 65,000 gold. Again, really, really expensive. And I believe the Marauders, I don't have it on the screen right now, but they have something for weaponsmithing. It's weaponsmithing or making armor. But either way, most of these are overkill and they're completely unnecessary, but technically that is one difference between them. Everything else is the same. It just has the word Covenant or Marauder or Syndicate, and the names of the ranks are slightly different as well. The one other difference between the faction stores is the visual look of the armor. So right now I'm wearing some Covenant armor on this character here, so you can see we've got like a brimmed hat. We have a cool cape behind me. It's kind of Covenant-ish-y. There are different sets of armor, by the way, but they all are of a style. If we move over to the Syndicate character here, we can see what the Syndicate armor kind of looks like by default. So let's turn around. You can see we got that sort of Plague Doctor mask. That's the classic thing for the Syndicate. And here we have it. This is the Marauder commander gear. So again, slightly different styles between them. Some of them do have this sort of flag on the back of them as well. So there's the Marauder flag or banner. And then if we look at the Syndicate, we have the sort of Syndicate symbol on the back of this cloak. And I think the Covenant have that as well. So yeah, if you want to wrap the faction armor just for the cosmetics, if nothing else, there are some differences there. But the faction store, pretty much the same, so that really shouldn't be a deciding factor. Now, the color of your map may be a deciding factor when it comes to choosing on which faction you should join. If you guys are opening up your map and you're not seeing the colors, all you need to do is go to your filters over here and then scroll down, and you'll have the option for faction influence. It might look slightly different because this is on an older version of New World. By the time this video goes out, we'll be in New World Aeternum. But yeah, just you have your filters, and then we can go to faction influence, and it'll either be off and you'll have no colors, or be on and you look like this. If the map was all green, for example, you might be inclined to join the Marauders just for the sort of safety, but it doesn't really mean anything. Honestly, it would probably be better to go for the Syndicate or the Covenant, because it then means you can actually compete for war. Because if the whole map is green and you're Marauder yourself and you don't own one of the territories, you can't attack Marauders as a Marauder. So, for example, if I had a company of Marauders and we were called Big Booty Pirates and we were trying to take over a territory, well, this territory over here is owned by Legacy 2.0. We would not be able to take this territory off of them because they're a Marauder company, and Big Booty Pirates is also a Marauder company as well. So that is a factor. The color of the map, depending on whether you're interested in the war system or not. Again, you can only declare war and take a territory from an opposing faction. So if the whole map's green and you fancy yourself a slice of the territory, you might want to consider going yellow or purple. And obviously this plays the same for vice versa. One other thing that is important with the control of the map is the forts. So these are the little Like, they're not quite the towns, but they're dotted in every settlement. We have the Restless Shore Fort over here, and then we have the Weaver's Fen Fort, and then over here we have the Fort for Morningdale. These all give bonuses to the faction that currently own them. So Castle Morningdale, or Fort Morningdale, is currently owned by the Marauders, and what that's doing is it's giving everybody who is a Marauder on this server a global crafting bonus +5. So when they craft gear, it is automatically 5 gear score points higher. If we go down to the Restless Shore Fort, all of the Covenant, so myself right now, we get free fast travel, so I could probably demonstrate that by, well, actually I can't fast travel from here, but you can see I'm not paying for my fast travel right now, kind of a small bonus. However, if the Syndicate or the Marauders were to swoop in, PvP flagged, they could take this fort and then lock it for 1 hour. So it doesn't make a huge difference because, again, at any time you can kind of flip over the forts. They are not tied to the color of the territory. We could probably show an example of this somewhere. Yeah, here we go. So this is a fort that is owned by the Marauders. So every Marauder on this server is getting global PvP experience bonus +10. So they're earning 10% more PvP XP. But this is a Syndicate territory, but the Marauders own the fort, and that's going to be the case for another, can we see the timer? 11 minutes. So in 11 minutes, this fort is going to unlock, and then I, as a Covenant member, could PvP flag, go to the fort, and take control of it, and earn all of the Covenant on the server, 10% extra PvP XP for 1 hour. So some of these forts, they do play a pretty big advantage. And it might be worth just taking a look before you choose a faction to see, all right, so this is a Syndicate fort, this is a Syndicate fort, this is also Syndicate, this is Syndicate. You know, there's quite a lot of forts that are being owned by the Syndicate right now, so maybe the Syndicate are more active, you know? They don't own as many territories, but they have a lot of the forts, and that is honestly the thing that's most important to you as a solo player, or as just a player on the server. These bonuses can be a pretty big deal. Like the Morningdale one with the crafting that we talked about, that's pretty big. This one gets us extra Asdot Salt, so if you're pushing for items from the PvP reward track, that's going to help you there. So yeah, take a look at the forts and take a look at the control of the map in general. It could be a deciding factor, but again, the map and the forts, they can change from a day-to-day or a week-to-week basis. So it's not, again, a super big deciding factor, but has more of an impact than the faction store, in my opinion. So what I'm hinting at here really is that because the map color doesn't make that much of a difference, it can change from week to week because the faction stores are pretty much identical, your choice of faction doesn't really have an impact on the gameplay mechanics. Again, there is no, like, Marauders have more health and Covenant have more speed. That's not really a thing. The biggest deal when it comes to faction choice is, do you want to play in a company with other people on the server? If yes, you should all choose the same faction. However, whether you guys choose to go for Covenant, Marauder, or Syndicate, it's effectively going to be the same gameplay experience. It's just for the open world PvP. If you are PvP flagged as Covenant, now I'm going to be able to attack Marauders and I'm going to be able to attack Syndicate, but I'm not going to be able to attack Covenant. But even then, that rule kind of gets broken because of the new PvP always on zone. This is a free-for-all area, so the factions don't even matter here. One other form of PvP you're going to be doing fairly often is Outpost Rush and 3v3 Arena. And again, factions don't make a deciding factor there. So yeah, the factions are a nice system in the game. They are supplemental for wars and open world PvP. But it really doesn't make that much of a difference, so just choose the one that looks the coolest to you, has the coolest armor, or most importantly, choose the one that your friends are playing with. So now that we've covered the benefits of joining a faction, differences between them, and how to actually join one in the first place, hopefully you guys have gone ahead and done just that. You've chosen to join either the Marauders, the Syndicate, or the Covenant. The next step is the same regardless of which faction you join. When you go to the store, you're going to see that if you want to buy any of the level 20 items, you will need faction tokens. And if you want to buy any higher level items, we want to buy some Gladiator, or this will be a different name for Syndicate or Covenant, but effectively, if we want to buy the level 25 items, or if we want to buy the level 35 items, we're going to need to reach the next reputation rank. The way we do this is by earning faction reputation and faction tokens. And again, the best way to do this, I would say, is by doing faction missions. So these are these little boxes that we have here. We can see the rewards that we get from them. It's that sort of number on the left there, that's the reputation. And then the number on the right is our tokens. So this one is giving us 565 reputation, 3,500 tokens. The first 3 faction missions you do per day get a 10 times multiplier. So if nothing else, I highly recommend you do at least 3 faction missions a day just to get that 10 times multiplier. It's very, very effective. The way that you actually take a faction mission is simply just clicking on it, or with the controller hitting A or X on the faction mission, and that will pick it up. And you can see it's now in progress here. And then we can go and complete it. We hand it back in to our representative here, and she will give us the tokens and the reputation. So let's go ahead and just do that right now. All right, again, with that magical editing power, I am back now with the faction missions complete. So if I go here and we click, or with the controller, we select with, let's see, is it X? Yeah, X, or I guess it would be A with the Xbox controller. And this in. There we go, 0 to next tier. It is worth mentioning at this point that if you guys did have other missions to hand in here, maybe hold on until you do the advancement quest, and then you can hand them in, because any faction missions you hand in now, you'll get tokens, but you won't earn any reputation. However, if they are PvP faction missions, you can't fast travel while you have a PvP faction mission. I can demonstrate that real quick. If I try and fast travel down to Windsward, it's going to say like, hey, you're going to fail your missions. So if they're ready to hand in and then you fast travel, you lose them anyway. So maybe consider handing in PvP faction missions, but PvE ones, hold on to those until you do the next step. Which, what is the next step? Right, so Baggins, I've done the stuff. The line has gone to 2. Now, how do I actually unlock, 2? How do I unlock Gladiator or the equivalent for Covenant Syndicate? Well, if you guys open up your journal, your quest log, if we press J, or I think with the controller, we're going to have to press this button here, whatever that is on the PlayStation, the one in the middle, whatever they call that, and we go to the journal from here, we can go down to Faction Story, and you can see we have this Marauder Advancement Gladiator, and it says complete the trial of the Gladiator at the Enclave, recommended level 25. So I don't know if the 25 is actually, I do need to hit level 25 before we can even do it. Let's go see. So complete the trial of the Gladiator. And it does look like it's there. So for the Covenant, this is going to be down in the Sanctuary. You'll have a mission now that appears in the Sanctuary, and for the Syndicate, it'll be in the little Syndicate cave they have over here. So if I now go to the Marauder Shrine for the Marauder Fortress, or again for the Covenant Church, or to the Syndicate Cave, you should now have a faction mission. If it hasn't popped up, it might be something to do with your level, so if you are just seriously going ham on the faction missions and pushing your reputation really high, then that might be a reason that it doesn't pop up. But anyway, let's go check it out now. Complete the trial of the Gladiator. Just wanted to give you guys a quick update. After I finished recording, I did go and just complete a couple more quests. I managed to hit level 20, and I can confirm a quest has now popped up over here. So I've already spoken to this lady, but now my faction advancement thing, the Marauder trial, it's level 25. So instead of being red, it's now orange. So I'm guessing that you need to be within like 5 levels of this ring. Once you've got the reputation, I guess just make sure you're within 5 levels, and then hopefully you're going to see the quest pop up. And if you haven't, just keep leveling up, and then inevitably you will see the quest either in the Marauder region or in the Syndicate region, and of course down in the Covenant region. And then once you finish the quest, we do the objectives. So I've got to now go talk to this guy over here, talk to Tibbs, and we do his quest. He's probably going to send me somewhere to go kill something. Defeat Lawrence of Long Shadow. So we go do that objective. This is going to be different depending, again, on whether you're Syndicate or Covenant. We complete that objective, we come back, and then I'm pretty sure I'll get my advancement, and I'll be able to move to the next tier. And then after that, as I've probably mentioned in the video several times at this point, it's going to be a case of grinding out reputation to get to 3, and then we come back, we do the quest here, and rinse and repeat. And that is basically how you level up your faction advancement. So yeah, level and reputation, 2 important aspects to being able to do these advancement quests. And this will keep going for like 35, 45, 50, and then it's like 60, and then 65. So it goes all the way down to the bottom rank. Earn reputation, make sure you're the appropriate level, complete the quest, and then go back to earning reputation. And finally, before we end up this video, there was one more aspect of factions that I wanted to cover, and that is how to level up your faction reputation quickly. You'll notice that once you get into the higher ranks, you're going to need increasing amounts of reputation. So for me to go from Adjudicator to Paladin, I think I need something like 36,000 reputation. I'm about halfway there, and a good chunk of how I've gotten this experience is by doing PvP faction missions in Great Cleave and Shattered Mountain. So this is going to be more of a later game sort of tip or trick. Once you get to level 40, you can go to Great Cleave, and Shattered Mountain isn't until around level 60. So as you're leveling up, just doing the standard sort of stuff, doing faction missions while you're in Everfall, while you're in Brightwood, while you're in Weaver's Fen, basically following the main storyline and weaving in a few faction missions here and there is going to be the best way to go about it. But once you hit at 40, level 50, level 60, you can spam faction missions in Great Cleave. The way this works is you have these PvP missions, and they basically have you do 3 objectives. So, preserve, sanctify, enemy intelligence, and effectively you have to go collect a box and then deliver a box. You have to go open up, I think it's about 5 chests, might be 8 chests, and you have to stand in an area. The stand in an area quest is completed just as you sort of move through. So as you go up towards the chests to loot them, and as you do the box delivery, the stand in an area of 1 minute 30 will just time down. So you don't actually really have to stand still. You can just kind of be completing that while you do the other objectives. And it's the same with the Shattered Mountain loop as well. So you have some chests to open over here. You have a box that you have to deliver to like down here or something, and again you have to stand in this area, and it kind of all completes at the same time and just ends up being a pretty fast, efficient run. Only takes about 4 to 5 minutes. You go back in, you hand them in, you pick up the same set of missions, and you rinse and repeat. It's not particularly exciting. It is, you know, it's maybe content that you would want to do while you're watching a stream or a YouTube video or some Netflix or something, but like I say, it does get you a decent amount of reputation per hour. So that is my recommendation when it comes to grinding out rep. One other thing you could look at is expedition missions. So we saw earlier I had missions for Empyrean Forge, and Glacial Tarn. So if I was able to get 3 missions for Empyrean Forge here, it would then be very beneficial for me to go and do a run of Empyrean Forge, because I'd be earning 2.6, 2.6, and another 2.6. So yeah, nearly 9,000 reputation there from just doing 1 run of Empyrean Forge. That's pretty good. So if you can see faction missions that offer you things for expeditions, and you can get 3 of the same, I would also recommend doing that as well. Lastly, there is Outpost Rush. I do believe you get a decent amount of faction reputation for Outpost Rush, and it's great for leveling up your PvP rewards track. So you maybe consider just spamming some Outpost Rush as well, because the PvP rewards track, very important to level up. Although the PvP missions do also do this as well. Finally, I just want to point out some important things that you can buy in the faction store that you may not have noticed. So these Grand Runes of Holding, you can sell them to other players. They have a value because they are used for crafting bags. So if you have some excess tokens and you want to burn them, maybe consider picking up the Grand Rune of Holding. There's also a bigger version down here as well, or a sort of slightly less bigger, rather greater Rune of Holding. You can also buy these Gypsum Orbs, although you do need to be a higher tier. Gypsum Orbs are very valuable. They don't cost any gold, so if you are at the faction token cap and you don't want to burn some tokens, I recommend picking up Gypsum Orbs. They're very useful as an endgame material. And then lastly, once you get to the max tier, I do recommend buying this Chromatic Seal as often as you can. You can get it once a day. It is very expensive at 5,000 gold and 20,000 faction tokens, but it's a very important endgame crafting material. We're probably going to cover this in a separate endgame video, but I would recommend, if you can afford it, to pick up the Chromatic Seal. Definitely get the Gypsum Orbs. There's 5 of those. And then, yeah, just getting gear as you need it, as you level up, is also a good idea as well. One thing that I do want to warn you guys against is buying the max tier faction gear. So this stuff here, it's 675 gear score. It looks pretty appealing, but honestly, I think it's overrated. It costs way too much, and it's actually pretty easy to find 675 gear score armor and weapons and jewelry just by opening up a chest. So, you know, you have the choice to spend 6,000 gold on a pair of legs when you could just find them from a random chest somewhere. So don't buy that stuff is my recommendation. But with that being said, I think that covers the main bulk of important information as it relates to factions. If you guys have any tips for your fellow players who might be watching this video, if you found a way to grind up faction reputation or something that you think is particularly valuable in terms of information related to factions that I missed in this video, feel free to share it in the comments down below. I'll pin or like things or give the love heart reaction if I see something particularly useful. But yeah, that covers factions, friends. Again, if you got any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments down below or come into the stream. We're going to be streaming New World Aeternum every single day throughout all of October and probably most of November as well. So if you want to come catch me live and ask any questions over there, links to the stream in the description down below. Thank you very much, everybody, for watching the video. Thanks for hanging out with me. Subscribe if you want to see some more New World content, and I'll catch you guys all in the next video.